What's up, folks? Welcome back to the podcast. Hope y'all had a good turkey season. I didn't have a bad turkey season. It just wasn't very action-packed. Did a lot of filming other people as usual with the goal, like I said in a previous podcast, of I was going to kind of hold out until my birthday and then try to get one on my birthday. I accomplished that, so that is off the bucket list. Pretty crazy. It was a really good feeling, that video. We went ahead and skipped over a couple other videos that weren't quite done editing, and I just had a lot of people asking for that video, so I just went ahead, got it done, got it out there. I included Jax's hunt from the day before because it was kind of a part of it, but I'll probably do a second video here in another week or so where I just go back and take that video and cut it down to just that hunt. Specifically for my fellow humans who can't watch anything more than 5 seconds. They need those short 3-second clips because their mind can't keep up with it. But that's the problem with the world, is people's minds cannot stick to something for very long in modern America. So it is what it is. We'll shorten up some videos to accommodate people's minds. Obviously, I'm not trying to gain a bunch of fans by calling people out. I don't give a fuck. I'm just being honest. Which gets me into the whole season. Let's just talk about it. It started off, my trail cameras tell a different story than what they like to paint, you know what I mean? But I've been running cameras since last year, basically. I kind of just kept going all through deer season, all through shed season. During shed season, obviously, you hear some gobbles, you start to see some birds. My cameras specifically showed me March, early April, they were already breeding. That's the only time that there were groups of hens with the toms. I got one video. I'll do what I can to go back and throw some videos in here to give structure to what I'm saying, because I understand that it's just talk to people who cannot fathom anything outside of their little world. So I will do my best to place in where I believe the argument needs to go. But yeah, so I had in my food plot, I had like 4 toms strutting with a bunch of hens. After opening day on that property, the corner of it, the neighbor has a feeder. Whatever, it's usually for deer season, I'm assuming, because when else is this dude running corn? His blind's 40 yards from it. Not my business, I guess, but it does affect how we hunt our property, because obviously deer are going to wait till closer to dark knowing there's a food source right there. They can come out, you know what I mean, and go to that. Not necessarily staying on us or whatnot. They kind of just shift back and forth as far as the deer go. But I watched from about 120, 140 yards away a hen land under that guy's feeder and peck around and then walk off. But then after, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes of us calling to some birds, we had a group, which I believe is the group from the food plot, coming from the second neighbor, not the neighbor with the feeder, but coming off of their property to us. And we were calling, and we would shut up, and they would get closer, and they kind of worked so close, and then we never seen them, and then they kind of worked back off. Well, we drifted to the other corner, called a little bit, got close, but no cigar, came back to that, tried to call them back in, figuring it had been a couple hours, maybe that'd work. We get to calling them, they sound like they're coming, but they do kind of the same thing, and then start to fade out. Well, it's getting to midday, we got stuff to do, you know, we got kids, we got problems, we got life. So we go do that. Left the guy, which I guess I kind of skipped over that. We could hear the guy sticking his hands out of the box blind and hitting a box call. Just whack, 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 you know, the typical box call sounds. And, you know, that's his property, do whatever you want. But we left, came back the next day, didn't hear anything. Throughout the season, we kept trying it on that spot. From the first morning on, there wasn't a single gobble on that property. Not to just point a finger, but I'm guessing those birds ended up coming into that feeder, and he most likely shot one or multiple birds. It is what it is. I wasn't there to witness it. This is literally just an accusation based on how this guy has worked in previous years. He's literally killed a deer. Same night that we had shot a deer, we found the gut pile fresh on us with drag marks leading off. And upon confronting the guy, he was like, his son killed it. It was a small buck, wasn't the buck we killed, even though he didn't know what the buck we killed looked like. But this is what he claimed, which, to our knowledge, maybe that's true. But what's most true is that the guy does not care. He literally doesn't ask for permission when these things happen. He doesn't, he just comes in, grabs his deer and goes. Whatever. If you shot it and you're just grabbing it, that's one thing. But the coincidence of being the same night and us not finding that deer, and we don't really know, 100% what happened. But to go back to the season, it got weird after that, so we just assumed he probably killed one over that and maybe spooked the rest. But to not hear one faintly off in the distance, nothing at all. The only cornfield around I drove past as many times as I could just to see if there were birds in it. And I never once seen a single turkey, not just Tom, but I'd never seen a single turkey in all these cornfields that are just across the way from it. So that was a bit of a bummer. And then me and Caden, we ended up hitting public land a few days later. We got right on a bird. They weren't where they were supposed to be. We ended up calling it off the private. It got on a logging trail. It was coming right down to us. If you know much about the Hoosier Forest, it's mostly logging trails because they completely butchered all public land. At one point was basically completely flattened, and they just logged it, let it regrow, called it public land, whatever. It's basically young timber where old timber used to be. So we go there, we're hunting. It's working right down a log trail, hangs up at like 50-ish, we think. And he had shot the gun the day before, I think it was, and it shot really good at 50. I was super confident that he could hit a bird at 50. And he just hung up. So we was like, you know what, try it. He shot, and then he kept shooting as it was running away, and we never got it, which it's a pretty good drive from here, so we didn't even focus any more energy into going back there, even though we had plans pretty much the following days we were going to get back there, and we just didn't. There were 2 birds we hunted since youth season, on and off. At first quite a bit because they seemed like we could kill them, and they liked the neighbors more than they liked us, so they kept going across, and we never could pull them back, and eventually it just kind of faded out where we weren't hearing or seeing them anymore. And to my knowledge, we only kind of spooked them once, but that in that same time frame, in like 20-30 minutes, we got right back on them and they were strutting in another field. So I mean, it's not like they were ever really spooked, but the season basically shut down. A lot of people are trying to say, oh, it was the hunting pressure, but I didn't hear very many gunshots. Youth season, opening day, which was a Wednesday, then Thursday, Friday, the weekend, I didn't hear hardly any, maybe 6 to 12 shots throughout the whole season if I wanted to guesstimate. And that's a pretty low number considering usually opening day you hear that many. So that was off. We hunted and hunted. We started to, after they started to not gobble in the morning, we were just shifting around, trying a place, there'd be nothing, shift around, try a place, there'd be nothing. We'd even hike way back, nothing. We got to the point where we were just getting up super early, going and getting really sweaty, getting a lot of hiking in, calling our brains out, not calling our brains out. Everything we were trying it wasn't panning out. It just wasn't quality turkey hunting like you would dream about. Like what you think about all season. It wasn't that. A couple people had good hunts to start, and maybe that was cool for them. That's it's a good way to start your season. But if you hunt every day, so you utilize every day of the season, you understand the full spectrum of the season and not just the times you got to go. So then you say, okay, maybe somebody went on just the weekends and they had luck. That's cool, whatever. But I didn't. I hunted almost every single morning, midday, and a couple evenings. It turned out they were good. First 3 days, shut down really bad, to the point where it was like impossible. We couldn't find a bird. We couldn't see birds. Driving as much as we couldn't see birds anywhere. It was like real rare. We'd see a bird, be like, oh man, go knock on the door as a no. It's like, just no. Just no wins, And yeah, that basically just added up to starting to like beat us up mentally. And like I kept grinding. Like I said, I wouldn't even pick it up with the gun. I was carrying it because there was always that chance. If somebody that was with me got one in a second, I was going to be ready for the double or the triple, whatever could have happened. But it just never happened. And come my birthday, I was like, all right, I'm not worried about nobody else. I'm going to take myself. You know what I mean? And we'll go from there. But to get back into that, we go mid-season, nothing's going on. I think it was May 6th, we decided to go back to my buddy's property. I had been there 3 or 4 times already throughout the season and hadn't heard a gobble. Like, literally nothing. But I hadn't been there early enough, I'm guessing, like, because we would come there after we'd hunt another spot and it was complete crud. We'd be like, all right, we'll stop there. I know there's birds. I've had trail cameras the whole season. They're all on logging trails, so I'm only catching those birds just doing what they're doing throughout the days. I would get strutters, I would get walkers, a couple groups, but there was no hens on any of those cameras. It was just toms, like big toms. So I was pretty confident they were in the area, but then I would go and I wouldn't have luck. Well, May 6th comes around, we're like, let's just go in the morning. Maybe we'll get lucky, hear a gobble, we'll chase him down, or go to as far as we can to chase him down, and we'll call. Well, we're down, we're calling, nothing. We're getting discouraged. I just keep calling. Finally, one fires back, and it's back up the hill in a good direction across the ridge. Like, all right, we kind of got a base game plan. Went after him. He came through the corner of the field, worked all the way across. It was close, but the way the 410 is like, you needed that extra 20 yards to be 100% confident, because I had my son. He's only 5. He's a good shot, but that don't mean the ammunition and the weapon is quite up to par. If it was a 20 gauge, maybe give you another little bit of range, whatever, but we had a 410. We're keeping it inside a comfortable range for a kid, really a comfortable range for most adults. They like them inside of 30 yards. So that was the goal, and he hung up about 45, kind of to our right in the brush, and then he went back, worked off, so we bailed out of there. I came back the next day, was kind of hoping for that bird. He would not budge. He would not leave. He was way down on the other side. Finally, some other birds came across the road, worked all the way to me, and then worked down to him. I was trying to get on him. He disappeared. So I was like, I'm going to go back to them. I go back onto them, and well, not he, but they are working up the hill at this point right to me. So I was like, I'm just going to hold my decoy. I'm going to walk as far as I can, and when I see him, I'm just going to put it down and wait. So I'm standing walking. I'm guessing it worked, because I looked down, birds coming right up the logging trail to me. I couldn't see the other ones, but I could hear them. I get ready, slide the gun right up between the tail feathers of the decoy, and I'm just waiting. I'm looking at my camera. I'm fully leafy geared out. I'm good. I'm solid. This bird is literally walking dead nuts at me. I do some calling real quick just to get him to stick his head up. Nope. He immediately went into strut, walked right at me. Honestly, I was getting really flustered at that point. It had been a tough season. There was absolutely nothing in the mid-season as far as action. So like desperation had set in at this point. I think we only had 4 or 5 days at this point left. So it was now or never. Well, I could have let him keep coming, but I ended up shooting him with the fan up, and I broke the bottom 2 of his left, be my right, back feathers, just folded him. He didn't even move. 2 other birds come up, gobbling in my face. They didn't really beat him up, but they were like pecking at him. And then they worked off a little bit. I do my whole thing. They're still gobbling. They're still talking. They're still carrying on. 40, 50 yards from me, because a hen lit up at the same time. And this is the first hen that I'd seen for like 2 weeks. Besides driving around, occasionally seeing one on the corner of a field or something, but nothing like years past where you see groups or multiples or see one in every other field. Nothing like that. That's a thing of the past in my opinion, but it's just an opinion. Take it with a grain of salt, whatever. So this bird comes to me, boom. I'm waiting for like an hour, sitting there for this thing or these things to move off so that I can slip out of there and not spook them. Since it's all of a sudden good, I've got to get back home, and my goal was to get Tiffany back in there that day. Well, it took me like an hour to get out of there. I just had to carry the decoy while carrying all my shit and slipping around them, and they're gobbling at me. I mean, I could have videoed it all, but at this point I'm like super flustered and I'm like crazy excited. I finally accomplished a lifetime goal, or at least a turkey hunting lifetime, because I've been hunting turkeys now for like 15, 20 years, and 15 years I think is what it is. But yeah, so I was excited. Did get out of there. I could still hear him gobble a little bit. I did my interview on a fence. I wanted a log, honestly. I've seen some cool pictures of people with their turkeys on a log. That's kind of what I was looking for. Didn't find it. Ended up finding a fence. I was like, well, that's close enough. That'll work. You know what I mean? I needed to get it done and get out of there to get back. Well, by the time I got back, Tiffany was like, well, if we just take care of your bird, you know what I mean? It's getting hot. That's fine. I was kind of in the same boat. I got crazy sweaty just dealing with all that and having leafy suits. I don't know if y'all ever have used leafy suits, but they're kind of warm. They don't seem to breathe very well. So, yeah, get out of there. We're like, all right, we'll come back the next day then. So we come back, and I think, if I remember right, the next day was with Jax. And we got on that big bird again. It was within 25 yards for over an hour. At one point, he fell asleep in my lap. While this bird is gobbling so close, you could literally hear his feathers rattle. I mean, as a turkey hunter, it was like a dream. Like, it was like, holy crap, we're suddenly in the action. This is the kind of stuff you wanted the whole season. Where was this? You know what I mean? Which I had a theory, which was, and I've talked about this, I figured once it greened up, the turkeys would get more vocal, and they would find each other that way, which was, in my opinion, that is part of it. But I also kind of come to the conclusion that you have, just like deer, you have a two-phase rut system, where the rut kind of comes in and a certain amount will breed, and then it'll kind of tinker out, and then it'll start to come back in, and then what's left will be really fired up and really be breeding. So basically that's what I come to the conclusion, that the turkeys are going to breed, fade off, breed again, which again, in my opinion, means we should move the season up a week, take that first week of May, cut it off right after a week, leaving the rest of that time frame for them to get the rest of the breeding in. No pressure, there's nobody out there bumping them around, potentially pushing a hen off of her eggs and then something coming to eat them. You know what I mean? You gotta start factoring in all these little things that could do better. And if you move this season up, we would go on that early time frame when the birds are just getting good. I think a lot more people tag out right off the bat, and then all those birds are going to be left, basically. Everything that's left is just, you know what I mean? You give it time. I think that makes the most sense. What they're doing, in my opinion, does not make sense. Based on what I've seen, what I've recorded, I've got trail cam history, I've got filming history, and I've always went almost every day of the season for as long as I can remember, because I've managed my life in a way that allows me to work, take a break, hunt, back to work, repeat. It works for me. Obviously, my profession's really hard on my back. For those of you who know, I pinched a nerve. I pinched a nerve. I think it was Saturday. After hunting. It wasn't during hunting or anything. I was home. I was messing with Jax, actually. He was on the other side of the pond, and I was like in the brush kind of messing with him, but he kind of seen me, so he was running around the pond to catch me, and I jumped out of the bushes, but at that point he had already seen me. Well, when I jumped out, that's all it took. I just pinched a nerve just right. For the last 2-3 days, my back has been terrible. I had to cancel a tattoo, been laying around, couldn't hardly wipe my own ass is how bad it was. Like, it was rough. So it's an old back injury. I think I've got something in the works to figure this out, but it's been rough. So that was at the tail end. So the last day I took as many ibuprofen as I can, because I don't do any kind of other pills like that, you know what I mean? Even ibuprofen, I'm not a fan of. I would rather find a fucking plant that I could chew on that would help me. And there's a few, but in this case, I just grabbed up some freaking ibuprofen, just hoping it would numb it a little bit so that I could get by through the evening. We didn't see anything. The morning, we didn't even get to go. We slept in. It was Mother's Day. The wife, she was tired. I was tired. Back was obviously hurting. A lot less motivated. It's been a tough season, so like I said, we just didn't go. We tried to go that last little bit. You have to stop before the sun set, is our weird thing in Indiana. It's like 30 minutes before the sun set, I think is what it is. So basically, you know what I mean, we only had a little time frame at the end of the day, and it was 80 degrees. Just not quality evening turkey hunting weather, which is another factor that I get into. Is if you bump it up, there's less hot temps, there's less chance of, like, say somebody really goes hard, they give themselves a heat stroke out there chasing them around, less chance of tick bite problems, less chance of mosquito bite problems. The gnats are just getting bad towards May. So like, you do it earlier, you don't have to deal with bugs. And again, that leaves the animals free after that. And the animals, they can fully tolerate the bugs. That's what they do. Turkeys, they eat all those little bugs that get on them. I've never in my life seen anything on a turkey. They groom themselves very well. Like, someone said something about turkey lice or something, or bird lice. I spent my whole life probably, well, I'm not gonna say my whole life, my whole childhood, a little kid running around with a BB gun. No birds ever had lice. No birds ever had bugs on them. I think that's just bullshit. It's just one of those things people tell you because they don't know any better. But the fact of the matter is, I've handled more birds than most people ever have seen, for that matter, just through hunting and fishing and whatever, waterfowl and turkey and dove and blah, blah, blah. The list goes on and on and on. A childhood of, running off little birds and stuff off freaking the neighbor's bird feeders when I was like 8. Shit like that. You know what I mean? You're going to notice things in time, especially as a kid when you're very observant, you're very curious. Yeah. I never come to a conclusion that was a truthful statement. That is just some idiot trying to get their kid to not handle a bird. That's what that was, in my opinion. I don't see any scientific fact behind anybody's saying of birds having all this shit. So, yeah, birds, like turkey, pick themselves clean. They're going to eat all those ticks. The same ticks that are going to give you Lyme disease is not going to affect that turkey in any way. So, move the season up 1 week. We're just changing it. They do it with daylight savings time every fucking year, and it pisses us off every spring and every fall. We've all got to readjust. Move it up 1 week. Do it 1 year. Who knows? Obviously, this shit never gets to the right people because the right people are always the wrong people in charge, and ultimately it just kind of fucks the rest of us. Same as all the dipshits with way too much money who seem to think that's how the world runs. Like they think the majority of people have to make so much money, and they're just shitty people and need to get a better job or something. But that's just a dumb mindset. That's an ignorant asshole who's got pretty much their life handed to them. They've had it easy and they pretend they haven't, but then they turn around and claim everybody else should do better. Should get a better job, should make more money, blah, blah, blah. Whatever you're doing is wrong. Only their style of life is correct. Ugh. You know who I'm talking about. We know plenty of those out there. It gets old hearing the bullshit side, the people who don't even understand people who go through poverty or just a tough life, or very unfortunate circumstances for some people. It could just be a series of shitty, unfortunate circumstances for many years, because some of us don't have that luck. Some of us don't have anything just given to us. They don't have anybody coming out going, hey, I've got all this land, want to be my buddy? That don't happen very often. Occasionally, I'll meet somebody and we'll go hunt, but it's usually not on their land. It's usually like public or something. And I've met some of my best friends through my work, and they've been just happen to be hunters and stuff, and we go out and we've hunted, fished, whatever. But none of them were rich people. They're all kind of in the same boat I'm in. A lot of these people will speak up a little less than I will. Say I see an issue, I'll bring it up. They don't want people to know they're bitching about something or whatever. Like, they don't want to look like they're complaining or blah, 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 whatever it is. But at the end of the day, I spend more time in the woods than most people who turkey hunt, more time in the woods than most people who deer hunt, because my job that I chose, that I've stuck with for 18 years, allows me to take that break and then spend each and every day, where most people maybe have the opening weekend, or a couple days if they take off some time and then the weekend, or they just have weekends. I have every day. I could have killed a bird the first day. I could have killed a bird the second day. Bit my tongue. I could have killed a bird probably most days if it was just me, because that's just how it is. If I see a bird, I have stalked. I'm not gonna lie, I was the worst turkey caller maybe that I've ever met. I'm not gonna lie. I was terrible with a diaphragm. I was terrible with a what do you call it? Slate call. I just didn't like them. They didn't work out for me, so I stopped carrying them around. I stopped bringing those things. I've got a box call that I've had for years, but it's so basic that it only gives you those certain tones that kind of work, but kind of not. And, you know, I just had to learn, okay, you can't call them in. You're not good at this, man. Stalk them. Figure out how to get a bird killed. So for years, I was just getting in front of birds. If I see where they're going, get in front of them and wait them out. Usually you don't have to wait very long, but it came to a point where I started calling, started having a little success. I called one in for my nephew in Kentucky. I've called a few in Kentucky. But the more I went on, the more I got better at calling. Especially this year, I really feel like I'm not the best by any means. I'm not even anywhere near a good hen caller. But the combination I use with hen and gobbler call, dude, it works. The proof's in the pudding as far as I've got video after video showing them just get super aggressive, really getting them fired up. They do not catch on. They don't know it's a person. They're fully in belief that there's another turkey. And it worked. So, yeah. Basically, this was one of the first years where I really called birds in. And I think everything we shot at, which was only 3 birds throughout the whole season, I think I called every one of them in. And there was other birds I called in that we didn't get it done, but that's part of hunting. You're not going to get every sit, whatever. You know what I mean? And it's contradictory because you're going to look at it and go, oh, well, you had success here, or you could have had success here, blah, blah, blah. Of course, because if I had a shitty season the entire time, I probably would have quit before I got to the end of season. But we had a good start. It was an action-packed morning, just a missed shot. Basically because the wife had to hold the gun for 17 minutes while it was coming in, and we didn't know if he could see her or not, so she couldn't move, and the gun got heavy. And I think that literally led to her missing. And then Caden obviously misses his bird, which again, these 2 videos aren't out, but they will be. And he didn't get his. 3 shots deep, it got off, ran off, never seen it again. We were going to come back within the next couple days and didn't. And that bird may still be there for all we know, but what we did notice was where they usually are on the public, they were not. They had moved to private, and in previous years they'd never been on private. We literally had to pull him off of private just to hunt him. And I was surprised we could do it, honestly. Like I said, with the way I used to call, there was no way. But the gobble and the hen calling was just enough to just fool them toms, man. Like that, if you want to convince them, figure out a way to gobble without the shaky one or whatever, without blah, 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 blah. Because that one, I've tried, it sounds like a gobble, but unless your brain is real tightly packed in there, shaking your head like that more than a couple times starts to give you a headache. It's not the best way. The way I come up, I don't even have a turkey gobble with me. Take the diaphragm, your little, stick it between your teeth and your lip with the bottom part of the reed sitting against your lip. Not the end of the reed, but the part that's close. Sit it against the inside of your lip, and these parts of your thumb are going to hold the edges just a little bit. Not too tight, but just find your tone. Practice with it. You're doing it with the air, and you're not saying anything really. You're just almost like wings flying. You do that over and over. You figure out your tones and how to make it louder and lighter, and you figure out the pow, pow. You know what I mean? Like a turkey. There's an initial pow, then it fades off. But I learned better and better. I figured out how to do like a Jake gobble, figured out how to do an old bird gobble, and it paid off for me, in my opinion. Could have been a better season, obviously. Like I said, turkey season was rough, but that combination worked for me. In previous years, I sucked. I'm getting better, but that don't mean season's getting better. In my opinion, we have more hunters now than we did 5 years ago by at least a fourth, maybe even a fifth times what we used to have. I mean, it's really growing. 2023 was the highest harvest report. That year, I do know there was several people who had shot a bird, and in the background, including James, a second bird was flopping. Now, ours 100%, it's on video, you could tell this bird was 20 yards difference. So, I mean, it happens, complete accident. Other people, maybe, whatever. It's on you if you shoot 2 birds at once, but that's not going to add up to 16,000 some odd birds. Whereas just the other day, it was right before the weekend, I think. It was 14,500 and something birds was where the Indiana Harvest Report. And in 2 days, the last 2 days, which were probably the worst, like 80 degrees, terrible weather, a lot of people were struggling at that point. Supposedly, it had a massive spike of over 1,000 birds. I don't believe it, simply because I don't believe there were more than 1,000 people who found success over the weekend after such a tough season. And maybe they did, maybe, but it's a small maybe. It's not a high probability that the number's going to jump that far, because it was really looking like it was just following in line with other bad years. And with as many hunters as we're getting versus the Harvest Report, you're getting more hunters than you are harvest, obviously. It's always going to be like that. But it's gone up and gone up and gone up. By 2022 it was a lot, 2023 was a lot, 2024 was absolutely ridiculous, and then by 2025 I was getting messages, and I wasn't even really trying to go for public. I only went to a couple spots. They were horrible, boot tracks everywhere, no birds gobbling, just not good. But I was getting calls and getting texts of people saying they have never seen so many vehicles parked around public. So unless everybody just decided to drive on their own and not carpool at all, then we have significantly more hunters coming in. It sounds good on paper to come hunt Hoosier National Forest and get you a public land bird. It sounds good on paper to go hunt public land anywhere and go get a bird. But we're at a really negative point where coon hunting is basically dried up. There's hardly anybody coon hunting. The fur trade has went to shit, so there's hardly anybody just at all killing these things, taking their time to skin, to salt, to dry, whatever, to tan, whichever route they take before they sell. There's just a significantly less amount of people, okay, doing any of that. So then you go, okay, you got less people killing all these things that eat eggs, that kill turkey, kill fawn, whatever. Less happening, more hunters, less birds. It's not very hard math to figure out. Some people will argue tooth and nail because they heard a bird every time they went out. Congratulations, you got lucky, you had the right spot or a right spot. I hunted almost every day of the season, and I could say maybe half of the season, maybe, and I'm going to lean towards probably not even maybe, was I would go out and I would actually hear a gobble every morning. Maybe half. The rest of the time you would go out, nothing. You wouldn't hear nothing for the first hour. You start to move around, calling, nothing. Jump in the truck, go to another property, hike back in. Again, nothing. You're just hearing, seeing, nothing is happening. So it got very discouraging, and when you're onto something, when you have proof, you're living it, you're seeing it, you're out there, you're filming it. I ran trail cameras, so I know, where birds were, where they're not, except with the exception of public, obviously. I did know where some public birds were based on shed hunting, because I shed hunted as far into it as I could, literally right before we left for Kentucky. And we had some birds picked out on public, completely gone by the time we got to actual season. So whatever happened in that time frame, I don't know. I found 40, maybe more, tree stands on public while shed hunting this year. Still there. I'd put money on it they're still there. It gets old because you're supposed to take it out by January 10th. You pull all your shit, and then you go hunt all these spots, and then you find somebody's camping out here. Somebody's camping out here. And to get deeper into it, it wouldn't bother me, because it is what it is. It's whatever. But then, at least half of them, and this is no exaggeration, at least half of the stands I found on public had a bait hole within 50 yards of where they're hunting. So, I don't even know if it's legal to hunt, or if it's legal to bait on public. I don't know. I've never heard that it was legal. But they're putting a dissolvable substance that soaks into the ground, where anybody, say I had that on my property, I got 5 acres, I couldn't even hunt this property because they will ticket me. They would say you are 100% hunting abated property. That's how they'll word it. That's how they'll take you to court. They'll make up whatever trail goes to it to make sure that you get convicted because you bad, law good. That's the only way they look at it. There's no warnings. There's no benefit of the doubt. They are the crookedest motherfuckers. It's like a communist country, and people literally are sitting here thinking some of these dudes are good. Nah. The shit they push, just the fact that they're willing to have that job and push it, as opposed to have that job and give warnings. If you have a job where you know some of the shit's corrupt, you should be like, in the situation, assess it, and go, here's your written warning. Don't do that again. Now you know. They don't do that. Especially here in Indiana, they do not fuck around. They expect you to know every law. Not every law is in the book. I don't give a fuck what they say. There's a lot of gray shit. You can even go talk to them, and you'll have certain questions that they won't even answer. They won't know the answer. So they'll have to ask their superior, who usually doesn't know either. They call it a gray area that you have to deal with. If you get into that situation and go to court, then all of a sudden it's a gray area that they're going to lean towards you're in the wrong and they're in the right because they can never be proved wrong. They absolutely hate being proved wrong. Lawrence County alone in Indiana here, corrupt as fuck. The fucking school system, the court system, it's all bullshit. There's a ton of fucking corruption. A lot of people like to ignore it. The rest of us speak out about it and nothing is done. It's just you bad, they right, you have nothing, you're just some dumb hillbilly. No, I'm a motherfucker that lives on this fucking continent, in this state, in this county, and I have to deal with the repercussions of corruption. None of us should have to deal with any kind of corruption in any way, shape, or form. Just the COVID doubling of our taxes. We're not in COVID now, smartasses. Why hasn't it gone back? Why did they double our taxes, double all of our hunting licenses, fees, tags, permits, whatever? Like I've always bitched about. All of that for COVID, but none of it went back. It got spiked, but it didn't get drawn back whenever it was proven that COVID was bullshit, all the lies. It was just a new world order playing out. And YouTube, don't fucking pull that shit with me where you claim it's false information. It's all out there. You can go fucking figure it out yourself. That's another thing. Don't ask me for a fucking source, because get over yourself. You think I'm sitting on the internet every day sucking up a source and saving it so that I can, someone's going to ask me for the source. No. Prove yourself wrong. If you think I'm so wrong, prove me wrong. Go find the proof that says you are wrong. You are wrong. Find it. You don't have it. You can't find it because it doesn't exist. The proof's in the pudding. Everything's corrupt. Everything's bullshit. People can barely get by. You are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yet they take all of that away. You can't live. You can't have liberty or the pursuit of happiness. I guess you could pursue it all you want, but they're going to make it more expensive, more hard to obtain, just difficult in every way, shape, or form for you to be a successful, happy individual while you live this short, not very fucking fun life. Like, let's be honest. You have your childhood, which they snatch from you. They force you to go to this bullshit thing they call school, where they show you this much that you need for the rest of your life. And then the rest of the bullshit that they force down your throat, you'll never use again. It's BS. It's just there. I gotta fill in the gap so that you keep going for 8 hours a day and don't complain for 12 to 13 years so that you're indoctrinated to be that same fucking employee for whatever dumbass you're gonna get hired for. And let's be honest, a lot of motherfuckers don't want to work for themselves. They don't even have the mental capability to want any of that stress. They just want the paycheck. They want to come work, get paid, lose most of it in taxes, go home, spend the rest on bills, and a pinch of happiness. Well, a pinch of happiness was never supposed to be the American dream. I don't even know what the fucking American dream is at this point. That's how fucked up it is. It's so twisted and gnarly that everybody just is growing content with nothing. They're growing content with being in debt. Yeah, you might have a nice vehicle. but you won't own it for 10 or 15 years. It's not your vehicle. Yeah, you might have a nice house, but you won't own it for 30 to 50 years. It's not yours. And even on top of that, every single year, you have to pay an annual ransom or they're going to take it. After just a couple years, they start to threaten you. And after just a couple years after that, they will literally try to auction off your property. Your property that you may have worked hard for and bought, paid all the taxes and everything up, paid for your fucking, and it's not just you buy your property and pay your taxes. You got to pay for your deeds and your assessments and all the other little bullshit that they find ways to snatch a little bit more out of you. And then you got to hope you have enough in you to keep going, because they're going to take it the second you stop paying the ransom. They're going to come take it. And then you're back to square one. You don't have nothing. You worked your entire life for something that the second you went, I've already paid for this every year. Imagine paying something for so long that you've paid for it in taxes what you bought it for. And then what? Then what? They come in and they say, oh, everything's inflated, now your property's worth this much, and then they try to steal it out of you that way. They raise your taxes, so then you now have to pay more for nothing, because what are they doing? What are you doing in that fucking courthouse where you're entitled to every single person's fucking money annually? You're telling me every single year, every one of us that own property have to come in and pay you a ransom for doing what? What are you doing? You're not protecting us. You're not coming in. You're not mowing our lawns. You're not coming in and improving anything. You're making all of our lives harder and then turning around and claiming it's for this or that, or it pays for this and that. I can drive down the road right now, hit 40 fucking potholes in 2 miles, some of them big enough to make me cuss pretty fucking loud, and yet roads and taxes. But the roads are paid for with license plates, licenses, all the little fucking fees and shit for registration. And if you have a boat, you got to register your boat, you got to register your fucking trailer. That all costs money. Each and every little fucking thing costs money. Hell, I got a life jacket ticket one time, and it was, I think I've talked about this before. It was a situation, we were leaving, had everything we needed. My nephew was like, I want to go, we're at the end of the driveway. I'm like, fuck, hop in, didn't think about it. Get to the river, you could walk across it. White River, at the dam. I've watched people walk across it for years. They walk to that little island, for those of you who know, and they fish off that island, or they go all the way across, whatever. You could literally walk across it. All we did was take a trolling motor, went straight across, it's 100 yards, whatever. Went fishing, came back, get checked, get a ticket. They instantly, since that's the best one to get you with, they get you with the kid one. So instead of just saying he could use my life jacket and I'll take the ticket, no, you're a ticket for a kid. Because that's the way, fuck us as the people, right? You can imagine which one did this. And basically I went to pay this motherfucker 3 times in the course of 3 months. Hadn't been turned in. Every fucking time. Who's that on? It's not on me. So eventually I stopped showing up. Because why the fuck am I going to keep going 12 miles into fucking town to try to pay something that should have been turned in the same week? And then eventually I go to redo my license, and my driver's license was suspended, and they said it was a non-vehicle infraction. Where the fuck does that make sense? So you can take my driver's license away because of water? Because we forgot a life jacket? Fuck, what the fuck is that? That's literally where we are. It's so fucking stupid that it blows my mind. And what's more dumb is there's some cuck fuck that's probably watching this, probably not, but there's some cuck fuck out there who, if he heard this, would be like, oh no, that's the reason you're gonna do that, oh, you're a bad person, blah, 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 as they suck off the fucking cross-eyed game warden. I don't know who's the bigger dumbass, the faggot game warden or the faggot that's cucking on these motherfuckers. But that ain't right. You shouldn't be able to take away my driver's license over this piece of shit not turning in the fucking ticket. So whenever I get this, I have to go then to the courthouse and deal with this, which is again, my gas, my fucking time. Go in there. Luckily, and this never fucking happens, the lady's like, yeah, I remember you trying to pay that. She said, hold on. So she calls the judge, and the judge throws it out. Like, what the fuck? That never fucking happened. That's the luckiest shit I've ever had happen. And yet, just the fact that it was a situation, just the fact that that even played out, should have been a mark. That's a fucking demerit when you're in 3rd grade if you fuck up like that. That should be a mark on his record. Boom, strike 1. The dude would have so many strikes right now, he'd probably be hung in 300 years ago for his crimes against humanity. Piece of shit. A real terrible human being. Our founders would not put up with this person because he doesn't value the people. He doesn't value anything that could happen. It's just, you bad, I work for these fucking fucks who are also bad. In my opinion, they're just terrible fucking people who have really got a lot of y'all fooled. And you don't have to believe me. Don't watch my fucking shit. But at the end of the day, facts are facts. It's all out there. I know more than enough people who are going to say I'm correct about this than the little cucks who are going to be like, you're a bad person, you're the one in the wrong. Like, no. In my older years, I've done a lot less bending of rules than I would have, you know what I mean, when I was younger. Obviously, when I was a fucking teenager or something. I'm really following some fucking tight rules to the best of my ability, but there's just so many barriers to freedom now. It's just gotten to a point where you either cuck for the law or you shut the fuck up. They don't want you to talk. They don't want you to bring any of this up. No common sense. And like I said, you don't have to believe me. I don't give a fuck if you believe me or not. This is for the people who want a change, who really believe me. Follow me. If you believe me, follow me. But if you don't have to fucking watch my videos. You don't. I'm not here for popularity. I know that's what you're supposed to be here for with the videos. I'm not doing that. I'm not trying to be something else so that people will like me. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to make up shit. I'm going to tell you what is and what is bothering me. And if it bothers you too, then we'll come together and hopefully eventually as a community we can figure these things out. But we've got to come together at some point because these fucking idiots are just as bad as anti-hunters. They're just dumbasses who are fucking playing into the game. And eventually that's going to come back on us really hard. That's literally going to take out the sportsman. And we're not a dying breed, but we're humans. And if you notice some things about humans, we literally will do so much that we start to destroy what we love. And in this case, take a look around. We're seeing worse deer numbers, CWDs on a rise. They somehow have no idea, even though everything falls in line with crops and pesticides and whatever else. And in the last 4 years, whatever happened during COVID, it all falls in line with that. I've got more than enough proof. If I fucking could lay it out on a fucking table for you to see it, it'd blow your fucking mind. But I just cannot figure out a way to present that to the public in a way that actually captures their attention and allows them to understand what all is going on. Instead, it's just, you're crazy, blah, 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 that's completely normal, oh, white deer have always happened, white turkey, those are domestic. No. Okay, so they took wild turkey and domesticated them, which means now they're eating grain that we grow with GMOs. Then they started breeding white turkeys out of this. They didn't magically fucking make a white turkey. It came from their process. Same with all the other bullshit. What do you think they eat partial of in the wild? And you can see there is a difference on places that does not have crops and that does. A notable difference in the size of the turkey and a notable difference in like the gizzard stones, in behavior, taste even. I noticed my bird this year, it come from an area there's really no crops. It's just a lot of hills and hollers. Bird was delicious. It tasted tenfold better than birds I'd killed around crop fields in past years. So, I mean, maybe that's just me, but everybody in the house thought the same thing. It was like, man, this one's really good. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just me talking out of my ass. Maybe I'm onto something. Who knows? But at this point, I'm going to keep speaking up. I'm going to bring it up as much as I can. Our turkey season's pretty fucking wild. And I think we need to come to some sort of medium where all of us can communicate rather than be at each other's throats and come to a solution. Because you say anything on a turkey page, maybe half the people are on your side, and then you got another half that's just, you could tell some of them are just rich. They got more money than they have sense. And then you have other people who are from other states. Like, what does out west have to do with Indiana or Kentucky? Absolutely nothing. Like, shut the fuck up. You're not even in this argument. It'd be like me saying I know everything about Merriam's. I know fucking nothing about Merriam's or Rios or Goulds. Nothing. Whenever I decide to go after them, I'll learn about them. But for now, I don't. And I don't claim to. But those people sitting and acting from another state like you know what the fuck's going on over here, just shut the fuck up. You're not making any sense. You're not making any argument. If you're not going to present any structure to either side of the argument, there's no point in you even being involved. Fuck off. That's where I'm at with it. But I don't know. I'm probably, rambling a bit, but turkey season's about all I really wanted to talk about on this one. There's some other shit I'll bring up. I'm still supposed to bring in Ryan if he's still down for a conversation about Kentucky, but that's on him. If he wants to, he can reach out. If not, I'm not too worried about it. Kentucky blows. It was absolutely terrible. But I will talk about it even if he doesn't decide to come on. I will talk about my side of the story, what I felt like Kentucky was, years past, blah, blah, blah. It's not good now, and I won't be going back, but whatever. But I think that's about my time. Get this edited up for y'all, and hopefully, I'm guessing fishing is the next thing on our schedule, so hopefully here soon we'll get back to some fishing. For the time being, I'm still kind of healing, and then I'm going to be tattooing. Pretty much be stuck doing that for a minute. That's just how it goes. But, yeah, so until the next time, appreciate everybody that stops in and watches these videos. If you watched it all the way through, thank you. If you didn't even get to see these, fucking ball sucker. But, yeah, so, adios, motherfuckers. Look at these ducks.